Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. So today's video is going to be a really short one, and that's because I have something that has come up in mind. And since the past state of the game, the development team really spoke extensively about how they plan on improving skills and making skills more relevant in the game. And based on that, I wanted to just voice one of the concerns I've seen in the community. There are very little bits of these concerns, but I wanted to go ahead and put it out there so that we have it on record. And that question is, are they going to go back and turn around and nerf skills once they find out, or once we find out that it's actually quite viable and maybe some people in the community may be too vocal about them being really powerful? So we're going to have a PTS. We're going to have the opportunity on PC to test out a lot of these things. But y'all know my preference about, PTSs, and my position. I don't really think that they have a place in a video game because I feel like the developers need to be very confident in their design and do their testing themselves. And if we have to go in there, even if we go in there and even if we find out stuff that's powerful, not everyone's going to show the OP stuff, because trust me, YouTubers are not the best builders. I will stand by that statement every time, every day. The community members have more people who can build more creatively and get access to builds that are very powerful, and they're probably not going to say anything. And so when it comes to the point where these kinds of builds, especially now that you can inspect somebody else's build, so even if somebody doesn't want to tell you what their build is, if they happen to be in a group with you, you can always snoop on them and see their builds, and people can start copying these builds. Is it going to be a situation where the developers are going to turn around full circle and start to nerf things left and right? Because right now things sound all fine and dandy, and I do not want to be a person that's negative, but if I were to say, okay, I can come up with at least 20 different nerfs in the division history, and I can come up with over 100 nerfs in the division history from the division 1, and these were nerfs that were made after the buffs were given and made as improvements. So this is actually a genuine concern, and I wanted to put this concern out there in the community, and so we can have this conversation and start right now, because we don't want the situation where they bring out these skills, the skills are very effective, and then they find their way into PvP, and then we have a whole fiasco where the game is going to start to see different things make some people upset, and make some people start saying things like these builds are cheesy. Because remember, if you played the Division 1 from the first, iteration of some of the buffs to skill builds, Seeker Mines were very powerful. In fact, they were powerful to a point where they were kind of annoying, but I think that's exactly what they were designed to do, because somebody who used skill power builds, if you caught them in a face-to-face battle with a gun, they were going down. So they actually invested everything into skills, and they didn't have much stamina to go by. This is not the Tactician build. I'm not talking about that meta. That meta did have some issues, because if somebody was investing into the skill power aspect of of their build, then they need to be able to have some kind of sacrifice in DPS and in tankiness. But right now, what we're seeing, especially with the shotgun meta, is people can run those shotguns with high damage and be really tanky. So I'm hoping that the developers do some serious testing before they actually deploy this thing on a PTS for us to go out there and test, which many people will probably not be able to test it because the PTS is only on PC, and console players are probably not going to be able to experience this and join in finding out the things that may be too powerful. So even if I go in there, I'm just one person, even if you have maybe even 10, 20,000 people going to PTS from PC, if there are even that many people that can even do it or will want to do it, because I've noticed that a lot of people don't want to touch the PTS because they feel like it's a waste of time to their progress. I've spoken to some PC players, some people in the community, and they just have that sentiment like, no, I'm not going into PTS. Why am I going to go in there and do what when I can stay and farm and increase my chances of getting better items? So hopefully the developers know exactly what they're doing, because yes, the news sounded really good. I made a video because I was excited, and then I started to see the comments in the comment section from the community members saying, I want to take this with a little bit of a grain of salt, and I'm hoping that they don't go back and do a turnaround and then they start to nerf these skill builds once they become viable. Because to be very honest, if they become viable in PvE, a lot of people are not going to no one's going to have a problem with it in PvE. It's when PvP starts to see these things as a problem, then that part of the community might start to yell and shout and say that these things are overpowered. And they might be right. If any kind of skill seems to be overpowered in PvP, there might be cause to have to balance it a little bit. But what we've seen is it's very difficult in a sense to have the developers committing to nerfing things specifically for PvP, even though they can do it based on the fact that specific stats only work with specific caps in PvP versus PvE. So I'm just putting this out there just as a concern that many of the community members have voiced in my comment section, and I just wanted to open up the the floor for the discussion, and hopefully the developers can see this before the next state of the game, and we can start having this conversation as we go on before the next PTS and the next patch is deployed, and so we can have something of a balanced game once all the skill builds are buffed and released. All right. That is all I have to say. I want to hear what you guys think in the comment section below. If any of you can share this video, go ahead and share it out there. Maybe put it on Twitter, maybe put it on any forums that you know, so people can start having this conversation, so it can resound in the community to the ears of the developers. All right, I'll get out of your hair. Thank you very much for your time and your audience, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.